viewers, welcome to yet another episode of Your Life, Your Money. For NRIs who earn in dollars, there is always a dilemma which is going on in the mind. What shall I do with these dollars? Should I invest in the developed world in the form of dollars, or should I invest this money back home in the INR? This dilemma is a perennial problem which is there in the minds of NRIs. In this episode, I am going to find an answer for this problem and help you to decide, should you be investing in dollars or should you be investing in Indian national rupees. This is NRI Money Clinic for you, and I am Dr. Chandrakant, but your financial guide for a happy living.
NRI Money Clinic. No hype, just the right advice.
NRIs earn in dollars or the currencies of the developed world. Their love affair for holding on to the dollars is eternal. Obviously, they are making this decision because of the strength of the dollar, because of its position. Dollar is an international currency. The world trade happens around that. US is a very strong economy. Literally 1/3 of the world's market capitalization comes from the US market. So they are justified to hold on to the dollars. Dollars are acceptable in any part of the world. You have few dollars, you can travel to any part of the world. It can be freely exchanged. You don't need anyone's permission. These are the reasons why people have an affinity for dollars. Why people invest in India? They invest in India because you are an Indian. You might come back to India and retire here. You are also knowing very sure that the rupee deposits give you a higher rate of interest. The growth story of India gives you a much better return in India. This is the reason why you invest in Indian rupees. But the problem is the currency exchange rate. Currency exchange rate between two currencies is not static. It's always dynamic. One currency moves up, another comes down. It continuously happens. It's just like a stock market movement. Currency is going up, currency is coming down. Historically, if you look at it, the Indian rupee has constantly depreciated over decades against the dollar. When I was studying, I'm talking about 1979 period, the rupee to dollar was somewhere at about 12 rupees or 15 rupees. And where is it today? It's at about 83 rupees. What was 10-12 rupees during my college days has come down to 83 rupees right now. So the argument people make is, if I hold on to the dollar, I will retain the value of the money, but if I keep money in the Indian rupees, the value against the dollar comes down. The answer is right, but it does not tell you the full story. The full story is that the rupee depreciation against the dollar does not happen on a daily basis. At times, the markets remain static. It will not move at all. At times, the markets will come down, crashing down. When I say market, it is a currency market. The rupee may crash down, and there are periods where the rupee has appreciated. Many people do not know the fact that rupee can also appreciate against the dollar. We have seen from 45 to 68 rupee crashing down. That's a pain point. Everybody remembers that. We have also seen rupee crashing from 75 to 82. That's a pain point everybody remembers. But what people do not know is rupee has also appreciated at one point of time between, I would say, 2003 to 2008, where it appreciated all the way from 45 rupees per dollar to a level of about 37 or 38. You can pick up such points all along that journey of 30-40 years. You can find periods where rupee has remained static, rupee has appreciated. Take the recent example, 2018 to literally about 2021 or so, the rupee has held against the dollar at about 75. That's about 3 to 4 years of neither appreciation nor depreciation, and rupee held against the dollar very firm. Later on, because of the reasons of market movements, rupee has slided to about 80 to 83, and it is holding on there. You can't keep the two currencies at static point. These are not the pegged currencies like in case of Middle East currencies, which are pegged against the dollar, so they have a constant exchange rate. So the currencies will move up and down. So this fear of rupee depreciating creates panic, creates doubts in the minds of NRIs. What shall I do? If I had waited for some more time, probably I would have got more rupees for every dollar that I had. Let's try to find an answer why rupee depreciates against the dollar. I told you about last close to about 45-50 years history, and it has been a constant downslide over longer periods of time. There are three primary reasons why rupee depreciates against the dollar. Number one is inflation between US versus India, the country which has higher inflation, the rupee or that currency depreciates against the dollar. Let's say US had inflation of 2% and India had an inflation of 6 to 8%. There is a differential of 4 to 6%. This makes the cost of goods and services become expensive. To adjust for that, the rupee gets depreciated. So the simple thing to remember is the country which has higher inflation, the currency of that country depreciates against the currency of another country. Here the case is the US, which has lesser inflation. What is currently happening? Historically, Indian inflation was higher, US inflation was lower. But today, if you see, the Indian inflation and the US inflation is almost similar, and many a times the Indian inflation is lower than the US inflation. So this point makes your rupee to remain robust and can hold against the dollar because there is no differential which exists. Going forward, for any reason, if inflation were to rise in India and the inflation in US comes down, we are back to square one, then there is a good chance that the rupee will depreciate further. But the evidence what we see on the ground today, Indian inflation will remain lower. RBI says my target for inflation today is at about 4%. The US has an inflation of 4-5%. It looks very sticky. It will remain like that for a few more years, looks like. Maybe slowly it will come down. But nevertheless, the differential of inflation between US and India is not significant today. And because of this, the rupee is unlikely to fall down against the dollar. The second reason is because of current account deficit. A current account deficit primarily refers to the trade account. How much of dollars I need to buy my import requirement. I import certain things in India, I have to spend my dollars, so I need dollars. Then how much of dollars I earn, I export things to the rest of the world, and our NRI community also sends money into India. There could be other borrowings and other things which will happen. So it's a balance between the dollars we spend and the dollars we earn. Historically, India had a negative current account deficit. That means we were spending more dollars and we are earning less dollar. Now here also we see the equation is turning favorable to India right now. It is still a current account deficit country. If the statistics are to be believed, it is getting bridged, it is getting narrowed down, and the governmental action is also focused on that. Why does India spend so much dollar? Primarily because of its oil imports. India does not have the required amount of energy that it needs for the country, so it has to import oil. That is the biggest guzzler of dollars in India. Government is focusing on renewable energy, energy efficiency, and a lot of activities so that the dependence on external source of energy over a period of time slowly comes down. The demand for dollars can also come down because of that. Likewise, India has also floated the sovereign gold funds to satiate the demand of gold for its citizens. Indians have a fancy for gold. They spend a lot of money on gold, and because of import of gold, we lose a lot of dollars. If people instead invest in sovereign gold bonds, probably the gold import dependence comes down and the spending of dollar can also come down. The third reason is because of the defense related procurements. India needs arms and ammunition, and its industry was not capable enough to produce it at home, and because of which you will heavily depend on developed world to procure your aircrafts, your spares, and the latest arms and ammunition for the security of the country. This government in the last 10 years has worked a lot under this, tried to do an Atmanirbharta on defense equipment size. They have done deals, they are producing it in India, technology transfer, they are trying to export a lot of these things to rest of the world. So what was a deficit for our country is slowly, steadily is turning out to be a positive for the country. Yet another reason for rupee to appreciate or depreciate against dollar is flow of dollars into the country or out of the country for reasons other than the trade. People invest money in India, so that is why the dollars come in. People often sell out of the Indian market, that's how they take out their money. So there is a constant movement of money coming in or money going out. If there is more money which is coming into the country, then the rupee will appreciate. If there is more money going out of the country, then the rupee will depreciate. Now, if we observe the data points here, now we can evidently say there is more and more people are pouring money into India. The FDI in India is highest today than any other country in the world. So we are receiving a phenomenal amount of FDI investment. FDI refers to foreign direct investment. There is a specific way to look at it. An FDI investment is a sticky investment which will remain in India. You bring money, you invest somewhere, you establish factories, you create manufacturing units, or this money is not something that is not a smart money where you put money today and after a few months you take out the money. That's not a smart money. Here a genuine investor comes into India, parks money, and that is really growing. Look at the remittances from NRIs across the globe. Last year, we had more than $100 billion worth of NRI remittances which are coming into India. And this figure is only growing. From a flow of dollars in and out of the country, it is evident and it's very clear to say that it is favorable to rupee. So if you look at any parameter today, what was creating a panic for the Indian rupee in the past is no more evident at this point of time. And if the same trend continues, I will not even rule out Indian rupee appreciate against the dollar. However, the inflation differential as things stands today still exists between the developed world versus India, and that could be one factor which might make rupee slide slowly but steadily. That cannot be ruled out. So the worst case scenario as I can see is rupee sliding down by about 2 to 3% on an average per year is something which we can factor in. Now let us look at why people invest in INR or dollar. What is the motive behind that? There are three major reasons that people invest in either rupees or in dollars. Number one is the speculative need. Number two is probability of making more money by the way of interest or by way of growth in that particular country. The third could be the need based. I have a particular need. Because of this, I park money in dollars or I park money in the Indian rupees. And let's look at these three things a little bit more in detail. First, let us look at the speculative need. The speculative need is, or the speculative reasons is, I expect Indian rupee to slide further. That is why I will not invest in India. So you are speculating, thinking that the rupee will depreciate. Or the reverse is also true. So if you expect the dollar to appreciate or dollar to depreciate, INR to appreciate or depreciate, you take a call based on what you perceive or what you are advised with. So based on the speculation, you calculate where do I make more money. That is how you speculate. The other speculation that you can make is where will the growth be more and where I can make more money out of it. For example, you have an option to invest in the US stock market. You have an option to invest in the Indian stock market. Where will I make more money? Both are the stock markets, both are vibrant markets. Where will I make money? If history is to be believed, it is people who invested in the Indian stock market in the last 30-35 years have walked out with more money than the people who have invested in the US stock market. The growth of the US stock market is just not very organic. It has happened because of a lot of printing of money, lot of liquidity which has been infused into the market, very artificial movement of money. That is why the US markets went up. With all that liquidity infusion, the US markets just made about CAGR of 7% in dollar terms. But if you calculate, in India, you have got a CAGR of more than 7% in dollar terms during the same period of time. So the higher growth in India makes you reap much better benefits. But this is in the long term. In the short term, anything is possible. It could be the US market outperforming or the Indian market outperforming the US market. Both are a possibility. In the long term, because of a higher growth in India, you expect Indian markets to do better than the US market. In the short term, it is just unpredictable. The second reason why people invest in India is because of the interest rate difference. You have an option to bring dollars and hold it as an FCNR, or you can bring dollars, convert it into rupees and convert it into an FD in INR. The FD interest rates in INR used to be way higher than the FCNR rates. FCNR used to give you 1%, 2%, whereas the FD rates in India used to be 8%, 9%. You can say any figure if you look at a particular time frame that could be a possibility. But currently, the differential between the FCNR interest rate and the INR interest rate is extremely narrow, and and just a few months before it was almost similar to that. That is because of the inflation differential between the two countries getting narrowed down. You don't see a much big difference. For any reason, let's say that Indian rupee has a higher FD interest rate and the FCNR has a lower FD interest rate. How should you take a call? Very simple. Let's say that FCNR gives you 4% and the rupee FD gives you 7%. Now what happens after 1 year? So you made 4% in the FCNR because that offered you 4% interest rate. You made 7% in the Indian FD rates because the INR gave you 7%. 1 year from now, if rupee slides by 3% against the dollar, so if you convert your dollars into the Indian rupees, you will get 4% on the dollar, the interest earned. You will get 3% from the conversion of dollar to rupee because rupee has slided. So the differential between the interest rate between these two countries is not too much something that you have to depend upon. If you have lesser FCNR FD interest rate, but whenever you convert it into the future, you will get more rupees. So even though it gives an impression that I make more rupees, but obviously that may not be the truth. There could be short-term movements, there could be slight aberrations which might happen depending on when you convert things, but overall, whether you keep it in an FCNR or whether you keep it in an INR FD rate, your net outcome will remain the same. The third is very important. It is the need based. I have a need, that is why I maintain my currency exposure. Let's say that there are people who are living in Gulf, there are people who are in US, and I have got a home loan, I have got some personal loan, I have got a vehicle loan. I have to pay back this money in EMIs in dollar terms or a currency which is pegged against the dollar. So I'll not take a risk of moving this money into India. I'll hold this in the form of dollars because I have a commitment against that. Likewise, people who have an intention to send their children to developed countries for education, they would need dollars. So they will not take a risk. They will hold it as dollars itself. And there are people who have their children living outside. These are NRIs who could be working in Gulf or some other country, and for the retirement they come back to India, but the children are outside. They are concerned about the legacy transfer. They are worried, will India permit them to move this money outside of India? From a legacy perspective also, they might be holding these investments outside of India in the form of dollars. Yet another reason, which is a very, very powerful reason for you to invest in dollars, is the tax benefit that you get. Let's say if you are living in US, if you have invested in 401ks or Roth IRA accounts, or if you are living in Australia, your super funds, you are living in Singapore, you have your CPF funds. So you park these money in these accounts, the governments have given you certain tax benefits. You make best use of that to save on the taxes. The taxes that you saved is a gain that you have made. So if it gives you the tax benefit, it gives you that extra advantage, you park your money in those currencies where your state has given that benefit. So now that I have given you all the reasons, historical perspectives, what might happen in the future, the needs and everything, now let us look at, if you decide to invest in India, how can you invest in India? By the way, we are in the business of helping people set up their portfolios, build their retirement corpus and investment accounts to reach their life goals. If you are somebody who's looking for an help in India to set up your portfolios, you can make best use of our services. We have team of experts on the ground who are ever ready to analyze your life, analyze your financial aspects and help you how much money you have to keep it in dollars, how much money you have to keep it in India, where to invest, how to build portfolios. A professional work can be done by our team of experts. If you have an intention, you can reach out to us through a WhatsApp message on the number that is given in the description box below to facilitate. We have also provided a link over there. Just click on the link, it takes you to the WhatsApp, send us that exploratory message and our team of experts are ever ready to help you. Why delay? Send that message now. Now that you decide to invest in India, how can you invest in India? Number one, you can directly invest into India. You can invest in the FDs, you can buy the bonds which are available for the NRIs, you can invest in mutual fund, you can invest in PMS, you can invest under unit linked insurance plan, all the things which are available for NRIs to invest in the stock markets or the debt markets, you can make best use of. But if you do not want to bring your money into India but still want to invest in India, one of the options that you can explore is FPI, Foreign Portfolio Investment route. Normally it comes via Mauritius route or via Bermuda route. Probably in a few weeks from now, I'll do a detailed video on how NRIs can invest in India using the FPI route. Yet another way which is taking off right now is via Gift City in Gujarat. That is one another medium wherein which you can invest in Indian market. But one problem with GIFT City as well as the FPI route is you have a very large threshold. I am given to understand that the GIFT City accepts investment only in excess of $150,000 US, and FPI route takes about 100,000 or more size investments when you have to invest in India. So unless you have so much of a money, you can't use these FPI route or the GIFT City route. One other way you can invest in India without bringing your money into India is you can choose the ETFs and the mutual funds which are dedicated to India, and from your own country you can choose these ETFs or the mutual fund, and you can make best use of the growth prospects which are there in India. Dear viewers, hope the video that I have done today helped you to clarify or get a clarity around should you invest in dollars, should you invest in rupees, how much to invest in dollars, how much to invest in rupees. If it did give you a clarity, do not forget to give me a thumbs up. If you are yet to subscribe for this channel, do hit that subscribe button and press the bell icon. Do not forget to share these videos with your near and dear ones, friends and relatives, and on all the WhatsApp groups on which you are connected with. Thank you very much for watching this episode on NRI Money Clinic. I shall be back with you next Friday with yet another thought on your life, your money. Till then, stay safe. Jai Hind.
Press the bell icon for more details and subscribe our channel.